Hi, welcome back to Dave's Garden and Vine. So today it's 9 degrees. Feels a lot colder because it's windy, but recently we haven't had as many frosts. So this has got me thinking. Let's have a look in the greenhouse. So in this week's episode, it's all about the plants that I've been keeping inside the mini greenhouse, inside me main greenhouse, and protecting them over the winter. It's time to get them out. So the broad beans, the red onions, I've even got carrots over there, and I'm going to start some potatoes. So, what do you think? Is it too early? So, first off, it's going to be about planting these broad beans. Nice, healthy plants. Protected them all over winter. If you look on the bottom, huge big root coming through. So, definitely ready to go in the ground. They're hardy enough. Like I said, we've had a couple of frosts, but it's a lot milder now, and it's predicting to be more or less in the tens for the next couple of weeks. So, good opportunity to get these in the ground. And these haven't been heated at all, they've just been inside the mini greenhouse, which is inside the main greenhouse. So let's have a look at the raised beds. That one's now cleared. It's where the Brussels sprouts were. I've let the stumps they'll just rot away, put some goodness back into the soil, but I've got spaces, and if you can see there, I've got a lot of pots, so I'm going to make full use of those. Right, let's get into it. Yeah, so we'll start getting these in the ground. I'll just show you the roots. I'll put the tag in there. Not that I can forget that these are broad beans. Nice big root. And I'll put them here. Obviously there's quite a bit of mulch on top, but I did. Oh, there's a worm already. Healthy soil. It's packed full of worms actually, which is really good to see. I want to plant at the same depth it is in the pot. Push it down. And I will cane these up after a couple of days when they start to grow. Just push them down so they're nice and secure. I'll just keep going. Sorry about the plane. Somebody going on holiday, so we can only be jealous. Go about 9 inches between each one. Yeah, again, lovely big long root, and you can see the way the roots starting to go around the pot there, so definitely need potting out. Push it in, put the soil around. Obviously they can take frosts anyway, broad beans, but now I've brought them on quite a bit in the greenhouse and the mini greenhouses. I think they should be fine outside. If there was a really bad frost, I could cover them if need be, but I'll speed it up while I put the rest of the rows in. So that's 2 rows of broad beans in. They're hardy, they should cope, but we'll have to wait and see. So next to go out is the Acado red onions. My other onions are already, they've been out in the raised beds for quite a while now, but the red onions, and I don't know if this is everyone, but for me, they take a lot longer before they shoot and root, and so, but now if you look at all of these, looking pretty healthy. I'll have a look underneath. Yeah, roots poking through. Yeah, so they're all ready. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to put them in these 30-litre pots, which have got the drainage hose at the bottom, the big handles on it. And I'll show you what sort of mix I'm going to put in. So for the Acado red onions, I'm going to put a mixture of multi-purpose compost and also a little bit of the blended horse manure. Obviously more compost than manure, but just to give it that little bit extra. So let's get into the pot. So I'll just put a little bit of the horse manure right at the bottom. And then I'll top that up halfway for the compost. Just break it up if there's any big lumps. It's not really, onions won't mind a little bit of lumps and bumps, not like your carrots. Then I'm going to put a little bit more of the horse manure in, and then finally top the rest off. Probably take the remaining for this bag. And just on the top, before I put the onions in, I'll put some fish blood and bone on, just to give it a little boost. So just adding a bit of fish blood and bone. Just to give that a nice head start. So I'm going to try and get between 8 and 10 in each of these containers. Let's see how it goes. So yeah, again, nice root. Push it right in, keep it level, the same level it was in the pot. And I'll bring you back once I've got that pot finished. Just realised I've planted 13, so I'm going to have to find room for a 14th in the middle. I'm not looking for these to be giant onions either, so I don't mind that there's a few more in. They'll grow. There we go. One container done, and I'm going to fill up the other container because I've still got, just so happens I've got 14 red onions left, so I'll have to place them the same as the other ones. So that's the 2 large containers now packed with the Acado red onions. I've got them all in, so there's no waste. And obviously there was a mix of blended horse manure, multi-purpose compost, and a little bit of fish blood and bone in each pot. So they're going to be positioned outside. They've been inside the greenhouse all over winter. Yes, they've been inside the mini greenhouse, which is a little bit of extra protection, but they'll be hardy enough now. So we'll get those outside as well. So next up, it's my carrots, which have been grown in these deep root cells with the air vent on the top, which you can open and close. So plenty healthy carrots in there. But obviously, unlike the red onions, I'm going to have to sieve the soil for carrots. I've never had much success for carrots, but I've never sieved the soil before. So this time I'm going to be sieving soil, obviously adding some sand into it as well, and We'll see how that goes, eh? So I'll take you outside for the sieving. Do it straight into this, into my wheelbarrow. Add the sand, add the compost, and just sieve each one, and then I'll get them potted up. It's very windy, so I do apologise. Just run it through the sieve, get out the big lumps. Put some sand in it. And then I'll sieve that. Hopefully you can still see. And you just pray that this gives you good carrots, because it's a lot of effort, a lot more effort than, well, it's probably one of the reasons I haven't had very successful carrots in the past, because I've never done this before. So I'll have to brave the wind for this bit, because I just want to show you the texture. Just mixing it. It's nice and light. So I'll start planting them from the deep root cells. I like these. First time I've used them. But they do open right up, so you don't disturb the roots as much as you potentially could. So carrots hate heavy soil. And that's probably something I've found out over the last few years, because I've never really had much luck with carrots. And if you've got loose soil, that means you get straight roots. So the whole roots come out. Push it into the loose soil. Gently cover it around. If you've got compacted soil, which is my sort of past history, then you've got forked carrots, basically. Carrots that go all over the place. Hey, didn't stop us eating them, so it's not a major issue, but I thought this year I'm going to give them a little bit more attention, sieve the soil, because as I've found out over the years, most carrot failures are soil related. So that little extra attention to the soil, you should get payback. Obviously you can watch and wait and see what happens. Almost like trying something new, so it's not an experiment, because a lot of people already do this. It's just I've never done it. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll speed it up so you can see it when it's finished. I do like these deep root cells, I must admit. So that's 14 carrots in there now. And what I'll do is just put a little bit of fish bone and blood on the top, just to help them along. So there we go. 2 containers, the 30-litre pots full of carrots. There's 14 in each, so that's a full one of those deep cell trays taken out. I've still got another 2 left. Some of them aren't as far on as the others, so I'm going to leave them in the deep cells for maybe a couple more weeks, but this is a good head start on what I can get outside. So last but not least, it's all about seed potatoes. I've had these chitting on the windowsill in the house for a couple of weeks now. We'll just take a look. They're all chitted up nicely. That's the variety there, Jackie. They're an early potato, probably more second early than a first early, but I'm going to pot these in the 30-litre containers, and these are going to stay in the greenhouse. Because the thing is with potatoes, they hate frost. So I'm giving these a head start, getting them in early, and then I'll have succession planting with me other potatoes once these get ahead of the game. And if it does and the frost does come, they're protected, they're inside the greenhouse. And I can also cover them with some protective netting as well, if required. So for the seed potatoes, I'm going to start off with some horse manure. That's well blended and plenty of compost in. And just give that there's a couple of lumps, not that potatoes. They're not like carrots. I'm not going to be sifting this. So I've got that in. Then I'm also going to put in some potato fertiliser. Every little helps. What you put in, you get out. Well, that's not always the case. Sometimes you put loads of effort in and you hardly get anything out. So, but I'll just work that through. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take the chitted potatoes, and then I'm going to put 4 of them in the container, maybe even 5, and then I'm not going to fill up any more soil until they start peeking through. And once they start peeking through the top of the soil, I'll put more soil and manure on top of that. So plant them nice and deep down. Again, nice chits. Obviously the chits come out the top. The dimple in the bottom there is where it was originally connected to the potato, the seed potato that it came from. So make sure when you're chitting them, you've got a little dimple at the bottom. I'll just do that again just to make sure people. So you can see the chits coming out the top here. Then there's a dimple right at the bottom. That's where it was connected. So this is the bit that you have pointing up. So that's those 2 containers. I'll just put some fish blood and bone on the top, and then I'll give them water. Inside the greenhouse, it's, can I see that? There we go. It's 14 degrees. Inside the mini greenhouse, it's 17.3. So you still get that little bit of difference from the mini greenhouse and the overall big greenhouse. And also outside, it's 10 degrees and blowing an absolute gale. So things are still protected. So there's the 2 pots of potatoes. I've put a little bit of strulch on the top of as well, which will also protect them slightly if we do get a frost. The carrots, 2 containers are there. I've got some carrot netting coming tomorrow, so I'm not going to put those outside until those are covered with the netting, because the last thing I want to do is go through all this effort and then they get the carrot fly. I'll be absolutely devastated. We'll go and have a look outside. So I apologise for the wind. And there's this 2 containers of onions. And also the 2 rows of broad beans. Hopefully you've enjoyed that, and if you can like and subscribe, that'd be appreciated. Really helps us out. We've just hit 1,000 subscribers, so I'd just like to thank all of you subscribers. Really appreciate it. And let's see if I can get to 2,000. Why not? Anything's possible. But thanks very much, and I'll catch you in the next one.